And all right, I feel like that if I just keep my eyes closed until 4 p.m., nothing bad can happen. Yo, 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 Don Mafia. Welcome to yet another edition of the Don Mafia Report. And no, it's not about the topic of the pending decision of Trey White, whether or not he wants to play in 2020. However, I certainly wish it was, because I would spend at least 9 minutes ripping a lot of you a gaping new asshole. Instead, I ended up collabing with my good friend Greg Tomset over at Cover One, and we are going to be discussing who is going to benefit more from the Stefon Diggs acquisition. Is it Josh Allen or John Brown? We have a super cool conversation. I'm really excited for you guys to watch that, and let me just stop beating around the bush. Enjoy. Welcome to yet another edition of the Don Mafia Report, and might I say a very special edition of the Don Mafia Report, because one of my good friends, Greg Tomset from Cover One, is joining me today, and we're going to be dissecting who exactly is going to benefit more from the Stefon Diggs acquisition. Is that Josh Allen or is it John Brown? Greg, and how you doing today, man?
Not too bad, man. Thanks for having me on. It's fun. I thought this would be a fun way to kind of go back and forth. We've got a lot of common listeners between our shows, and I
Yeah,
think a couple people that could probably use a little introduction who aren't checking out both things. So thought this would be a fun way to do it. Kind of come up with a debate and some new additions to the team, and have you over and do like in college, have a home and home series.
for sure, for sure. I'm 110% down for that. And Don Mafia, let me tell you what, say that you like my content, you're probably going to prefer Cover Ones because, like, let's be honest, I'm like sort of that homer dude that's always going to say how the Bills are going to annihilate the Dolphins with doing, I don't know, like 20 minutes of research. These guys over at Cover One, they know their shit. They really know their shit. Like, they like go in-depth analysis. I'm going to go ahead and link their link. I'm going to link their channel in my description. And we also did a video over on Greg's channel as well. But Greg, right without further ado, let's go on ahead and like dive into this topic, right?
Appreciate it, man.
Um, Not sure about you, but the day that Stefon Diggs ended up being traded to the Buffalo Bills might have been the third happiest day of my life, right? Um, not only for fans, but I think also from the actual Buffalo Bills perspective by itself, right? So here's my question. Who do you think is going to benefit more from this acquisition, Josh Allen or John Brown?
So I agree completely. I was actually on with Pat Moran live on his show and we were talking about how the first day of free agency was kind of meh. At that point, when we were recording, literally the only news that had broken was the AJ Klein signing, and it
Yeah,
was like, all
less than
right. I
inspiring.
mean, hey, we signed a guy. I guess we needed to replace Zoe, but all right, we kind of thought it was going to be slow. So not only had the Mario Addison signing not broke yet later that night, but while we were live on the show, I was on with Pat a couple of days ago, and he replayed the clip from when it happened. And I'm sitting there, and we're talking about new additions to the team and how nice it would be if we could kind of add a real threat in the passing game. And I'm like, wait, this is real. Jay Glazer just tweeted that Stefon Diggs got traded to the Bills. This is real. Hold on. And I lose my mind while we're on the show. In hindsight, it's real. Like it is such an unbelievable domino effect of
Yeah.
what it has on the threat it makes on defenses and what it does to coverage and the other guys in the team. And, you know, I think the obvious answer to the question you asked, logically, it's probably Josh Allen, but I'm going to make the case
Mhm.
that I spent all of last year, kind of twisting it to people that no, his legal name is wide receiver one, John Brown. And that I was such a huge John Brown fan that he had a really nice season. He had 1,000-yard season, but he had 1,000-yard season going up against the Stephon Gilmores of the world and the number one corners. So although I think, and I've seen some people put together cases. Joe Marino just did a nice job of like how he thinks the target distribution is going to go, and that I do think the Bills are just going to pass a little bit more, and there's going to be a bigger pie to go around. That I don't think is as much of a target step back is what people are thinking for John Brown.
Mhm.
And I think him having the advantage of that gravity and tilting the field over towards Stefon Diggs with safety help and the number one corner, I think he's going to feast on it. And although it's fun to see him do those deep routes, my favorite is where he has the corner terrified and the corner
Mhm.
starts to bail and he just turns around at 15 yards. You get a free 15 yards
Yeah.
because the corner is terrified. I think we're going to get so many of those this year.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's going to benefit John Brown and extend his career. It's going to be great.
For sure. For sure. 110%. Like, I've always said this, that um, you think about it, John Brown's going to be going up against CB2s, number one, right? And he managed to fare very well against, some very talented cornerbacks in 2019. And then once you also add on to the fact as well that, in my opinion, you're going to see a lot more targets on John Brown for the first 4 or 5 games, because I think opposing defenses are going to be obsessed with trying to contain Stefon Diggs, whether or not that it's double teams or whether or not that it's certain schemes to sort of take him out of the game. John Brown's going to not only be going up right against lesser talents, but rather he's going to be wide open a lot of the times, which is going to be super, super interesting. So you mentioned that you think it's probably Josh Allen. So what's your thought process on that he benefits Josh Allen more so than John Brown?
So I think, although, like I said, I'd like to lay out the case where I think John Brown actually benefits more, but in reality, it's such an amazing fit with the skill set of Josh Allen, in that people give him a hard time about the accuracy. People give him a hard time about the anticipation and things like that. What people may not realize is that when you have a guy like Stefon Diggs, who is arguably the best route runner in the NFL, he's so good with his footwork that he visually flashes open. So open in the NFL normally means you have like a sliver of room that if he's going to break on his 5th step at 7.5 yards, you can fire it in there and the cornerback is just a split second behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to know that. That's what the Drew Breeses of the world do. Well, Josh Allen isn't quite at that stage yet of anticipating that and knowing the exact rhythm and putting it at a pinpoint accuracy like a Greg Maddux kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what you do have is he has the strongest arm in the NFL. So when you have a guy who visually flashes open and he's like, holy crap, that guy's wide open, he can fire the ball in there before the cornerback can react. So when you have a guy like Stefon Diggs who can literally roast a guy and have him be turning around backwards trying to figure out where he is,
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen can then take advantage of that by firing it in there. And yes, 1 in every 10 throws, is he going to accidentally put it over Diggs' head? Sure. But the other times, it's going to go to him, and it's going to be fantastic. It's just such a valuable skill to be able to put that together.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because like Vikings fans are still like in my mentions as far as from Twitter is concerned. Like they're like, oh, great, Stefon Diggs leaving for Josh Allen. Good luck over there, buddy. But I mean, really what people fail to realize is that like he's among one of the best in the league between short to medium range passes. And that's exactly why I think that chemistry is going to be there between Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs at the end of the day. Here's sort of a follow-up question to that, right? Like when you compare with the Kirk Cousins and Josh Allen, let me put my homerness aside for a second. Sure. With Cousins, he's a more accurate quarterback, right? But do you think that Josh Allen's ability to extend plays with his legs is going to benefit Diggs and make him a better match with him rather than with Kirk Cousins in 2019?
So the couple things that I think are in their favor is obviously there was not a fantastic relationship between Stefon Diggs and Kirk Cousins. I don't think it was horrible, but I think there was more to it than just on the football field. And that I think that when Adam Thielen went out injured, it should have been fairly obvious that Stefon Diggs should have really been peppered with targets and kind of carried the load until Thielen came back. And when he didn't, and when Cousins was distributing the ball to, Johnson Adebosi or whatever, crazy, depth receivers that nobody thought should be getting the ball, that I can see why it went rough from that standpoint. You then flip that to, say what you want. I know all the cat calls for Josh Allen. I hear them in my mentions constantly, just like you do.
Yeah.
There's one thing that's undeniable. people will fight for this guy. People love to rally behind him. He is an incredible leader. He is a very magnetic personality that everyone talks about it. The moment you're in the room with him, he makes such a genuine effort to click and connect with people. He's already done that with Stefon Diggs. Diggs talked about it in his press conference today, how much of an effort that Josh Allen has made. And that I think that just seeing that also, I don't think it's, it's going to benefit them. That I don't think John Brown is a guy who's going to fight that Stefon Diggs is the number one target in the offense. He's not going to throw a fit about that. I don't think Cole Beasley is going to throw a fit about that. I think he's going to be welcomed here as the long-awaited number one target, and they're going to praise him as that. And, whether people think that that should be necessary or not, whatever, it doesn't matter. That's fine. It's accurate, and I think it's fine that Stefon Diggs wants that, and he wants to be welcomed as this, oh my gosh, we've been waiting for you. You are this number one target that we really need. And they never made him feel that way in Minnesota, even though he balled out for 4 years as some 5th-round pick who outperformed everything they could possibly ever want. He never felt like they appreciated what he was to them as a weapon. And I think the fact that he's coming in day one, being praised and just having that love thrown at him, and the number one target share thrown at him, I think it's set up to succeed better than whatever was happening there. I think Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. I don't think he's a bad person. I don't think he's the same leader as what Josh Allen is. And I think that piece from a relationship standpoint is going to matter.
For sure. Well, honestly, I am absolutely pumped that Stefon Diggs is on our team. And I'm not sure about you either, but I mean, before that NFLPA and the NFL agreed on everything, like with COVID and everything along those lines. And Diggs sort of put out a tweet suggesting he was considering opting out. Let me tell you something that made me, like, the weight of the world lifted off my shoulders the second that I saw that he tweeted, "Hey, Buffalo, where should I eat tonight?"
Yeah.
That was the second that I knew that with
everything, seeing him in a uniform on the field,
like, that's what I knew was real.
Like, yeah. I was, thank God. All right, it's real.
Yeah.
And I think for anybody who wasn't looking today, Mike Garafolo of NFL Network tweeted that actually they couldn't announce it at the time, but at the time of the trade, all the way back in March, they actually agreed to shuffle around some of the money in his contract. And it's not more money. It nets out to the exact same money over the 4 years that he was due, but they guaranteed a little bit more for him next year. And they took some of the money from year 3 and 4 and basically gave him a raise this year. It took him from like 11.8 or 10.8 to 14.2 million. He got like a $3.3 million raise this year. So it's no new money for the Bills. And to be honest, it helps them because they have the cap space now. And that's years when Josh Allen and Tremaine Edmonds contracts are coming up. So it was smart by Brandon Beane to kind of accelerate some of that, but it was also kind of a little welcoming gift to Stefon Diggs to say, hey, you're our number one guy. We want to give you a little bit extra money now, plus money the Vikings wouldn't guarantee for you. We're going to guarantee for you next year. And you'd have to be silly. Think about any of you listening. If your boss did that for you to say, hey, I know you just got this new promotion, but we're actually going to take some of your future money and give it to you now, and we're going to guarantee some of your salary next year. That's going to make you feel appreciated and ready to buy in a little bit more too.
For sure. I mean, you could definitely leave it to Brandon Beane for knowing his way around a contract, right?
Oh, yeah.
The Absolutely. Blessing of the city of Buffalo.
And, that same idea years past, that would have been kind of the fumble into the LaShawn McCoy situation, where to make him happy, they had to give him a ton of new money and extra money. Whereas this was finding a way to show the guy appreciation and also kind of help the team and not give any extra money. Like it was the best of both worlds. Like Stefon Diggs feels great about it, and he kind of did us a favor when we actually need the cap space later on. It's just shows the genius of Brandon Beane.
Yeah, look at that. Well, hey, Dom Mafia, thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed this session. Greg, once again, man, thank you so much for coming on.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, come on over, take a look at everything we have going on. Having a lot of fun over at cover1.net. I think a lot of Don Mafia would dig it. Love what you're doing, Dan. It's so much fun to keep up with, and looking forward to seeing some of your new ventures coming up as well.
Hell yeah, man. Most definitely. All right, Dom Mafia, do make sure to watch the video that Greg and I did on his channel. I will put that in my description, and have a good day. And above all else, let's go Buffalo.